Hey guys, what is up? It's your girl, Grace Story, and I'm back with a whole new podcast episode. It is officially the holiday season. It's been the holiday season for a little while now. And the crazy thing about this season of giving is that people feel a little bit more entitled to receive things. So I thought it would be fun to read some stories from you guys about entitled people who are doing very entitled things. These are all from Reddit, so it is r/entitledpeople and r/entitledcustomers that I'm reading from, but we are getting all the tea on all things holiday. Any holiday, Black Friday, Thanksgiving. Is Black Friday a holiday? I don't know. I lump it in. All those things it is going to be in this episode. So before I jump in, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, follow, do all the things. It really helps out the podcast. It's free, takes 0.2 seconds. And literally would make my dreams come true. Like, guys, I love you so much. And that would be, like, I get giddy just thinking about it every time I get a new subscriber or follower on any sort of platform. I celebrate every single one of you because it's so exciting. I love talking to you guys, interacting with you guys. And of course, I'm so grateful. And it helps me get one step closer to my dream that I have for myself. So yeah, enough of that. I'm so grateful for you guys in the season of giving. I just want to say I hope you had a great Thanksgiving if you're in the US and that everybody is feeling warm, fuzzy, grateful despite the state of the world right now. We're doing our best. Without further ado, let's go ahead and jump on in. I'm Grace Story and you're listening to That Girl the Podcast. Grab a beverage of choice and settle in because the new episode is starting now. I'm going to give a quick disclaimer. Don't listen to this with kids in the car because we will be talking about a certain someone who lives up north and I don't want to ruin the magic for them. So this first one is from 2 years ago and it is titled, Everyone Thought I Was the Karen. So, at my work, we do charitable community outreach projects and I'm on the committee. My task for the Thanksgiving food drive was to ask at Food Lion, which is a local grocery store chain, when they were putting out their food donation boxes. The boxes are filled with non-perishable food items and were around $5 the last time I looked into them. As we were getting near the 1 month away point, I was expecting them to have put them out, but they hadn't, so I was wondering if they were doing it this year or not. So in my infinite stupidity given this day and age, I found an employee near the registers and asked if I could speak to a manager. Now, I wasn't snotty about it, wasn't scowling, or otherwise looking mean when I asked. I went up to the woman at the self-check and with a smile I said, "Excuse me, is there a manager I can talk to? I have a question about the food donation boxes." Someone only heard, "Is there a manager I can talk to?" and started yelling, "Oh, shut the hell up, Karen." That's insane. Let's not jump the gun, okay? We're all doing our best. No jumping the gun needs to happen. We're okay. Everybody take a deep breath. Managers are there for questions like that. But I do always ask a sales associate first, and if they don't know, they will ask their manager, and that's one way to go around it. But a lot of times they'll just give you an answer that's not correct to get you to leave them alone, which is sad. Like, we had that happen to us the other day. We were buying a part for a washer, because we got a new washer, and we asked them, like, do you have this adapter? Which is very common. Pretty much everyone I talked to was like, yeah, if you buy a washer, you're either going to have to get, like, this adapter for old to new or new to old or whatever. So we asked, or my boyfriend asked at Lowe's, and the Lowe's associate literally told him they don't sell those anymore because they're a safety hazard. And so he went the next day and asked a different associate because I was like, dude, it's literally on the website. What are you talking about? It says it's at the store. And the different person walked him right up to it and showed it to him. So I don't know. After that, I'm like, what is going on? And it's happened multiple times. So I think everybody needs to be paid more. People in customer service roles, people in healthcare, we all should be paid more. Obviously, not a hot take there. But at the same time, like, you should help people. And if you don't know, just radio someone. As someone who worked in retail for like 5 years, you know? Anyway, moving on. Every time I open my mouth to try and defend myself and explain that I'm not being a Karen, this guy will berate me even more for being a Karen. For F's sake, leave the poor girl alone. It's not her fault for whatever got your panties in a twist. Or, hey everyone, what do you call a guy who's acting like a Karen? Some people were even cheering this guy on. I left and went home deciding that perhaps a phone call to the local store would be a better option. I did call and got a manager. I apologized for the commotion I caused and explained that I only had a question and was not complaining about anything. They said it was all right and that they aren't putting out the boxes until after Thanksgiving, since making sure people have food over the Christmas holidays is more their focus. I thanked them, and that was that. Ugh. It makes me so mad that you didn't, like, I would have patiently waited for him to get it all out and say, I just want to know when you're putting the boxes out. Like, I just want to know so that we can help with donations. I would have said something like that, because killing people with kindness is the way to go, but you can also do a little bit like, hey, I'm trying to be a nice person here, and you're shutting down, like, a nice gesture, you know, like, hey, like, almost teach them a lesson a little bit, like, hey, not everybody is a Karen. So, yeah, that's what I would have done, but that's crazy, that's insane, and quite the story. This one is titled, My aunt and uncle feel they are entitled to expensive gifts this year my family and I can't afford just because they, quote-unquote, popped out a baby. This is going to be interesting, I already know. For some background, my mom's side of the family has always been a bit too crazy into Christmas, to the point where during the holidays we see them multiple times a week from Thanksgiving to Christmas. We do everything with them the whole month leading up to Christmas. This year we were all making an effort to cut back on it all, since my grandparents are both getting up there in age. They are both in their 70s and have had many worsening health issues the past few years, from heart surgeries to a stroke last Christmas. Oh no, I'm sorry about that. A few years ago, we started doing a stocking exchange drawing that has been fun, but some people get so much extra stuff and others get practically nothing. It's baffling. This is why we need a cap, a minimum, a maximum, baby. It's the same way when it comes to gifts. Me and my dad and my sister would get like 5 or 6 gifts total, and my mom, uncle, aunt, and grandparents would each get like 12 or 15. Not only do some of us get very few presents repeatedly every year, but often they aren't as well thought out or as good in general. Until now, we've always had way too many presents to open together. I'm not joking when I say that we've had years where we would arrive at the grandparents' house at 9 a.m. and not leave until 9 p.m. on Christmas Day or even later. This is because we also go in rounds with one person opening at a time, going clockwise around the room or whatever. Opening one present can take 5 minutes or 15 minutes if people get distracted and start talking. Don't get me wrong, I'm very appreciative, but it's just so much to go through for the entire family one day a year. At the end, I'm just so exhausted and bored, dare I say. Okay, you sound like the entitled person right now, because so many people dream of this, and I'm gonna let you finish. I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt, but regardless of how this ends, you can't say that you're appreciative and bored at the same time. Like, they put so much thought and effort into buying you things, and just say you're not grateful. I don't know. I'm feeling a lot of ways about this, because I was blessed to have a lot when I was younger in terms of Christmas. And it was a lot, but it doesn't matter if you're there for 3 days opening presents. You're grateful and you're cheery and you're happy to be there because you're, one, spending time with your family, and 2, you're opening gifts. It's not about the presents, so maybe you were getting a little out of hand and you could dial back on the presents, dare I say. But if you're getting that many and that's not putting everybody in a horrible situation financially, I feel like it's very, very ungrateful how you're going about this. Even though you say, like, just because you say you're appreciative doesn't mean you can say, like, but I get bored. Like, no, that doesn't absolve that. Anyway, let's see how they turn this around. Anyways, a few days ago, it was decided that this year we would all do separate Christmases on our own at our homes, because my baby cousin finally getting to the age where my uncle and aunt can play Santa for him. Now, everyone gets one other person one present, so that everyone only has one present to open when we're all together on Christmas Day. This is a great idea because everyone just has to find one really good, meaningful gift idea for one person. It's cheaper and easier in theory. This came after the new decision to create wish lists on the online service we've used for stocking drawings. Everyone put stuff on their list except my grandfather, because he's old school and wants a surprise, and my uncle, for whatever reason, didn't have one right away. It sounds like you guys can't agree on literally anything. The surprise was that my uncle revealed he did in fact create a list a long time ago. The list has got to be one of the most insane examples of entitlement I've ever seen. He put items on there almost all above $500. He put a PS5, a new well for his cabin, and car parts for his vintage Ford pickup truck that cost $1,500 on there. The only thing not $500 on his list was some corn nuts. My mom joked that the only thing our side of the family, my mom, dad, sister, and I, could afford was the corn nuts if one of us drew his name for the gift exchange. Do you know what my aunt says to that? We deserve expensive presents this year because I pushed out the last family name, baby. I just can't anymore with them. It used to only be bad when my aunt and uncle, grandparents would all make fun of me and embarrass me, or even spout their BS political opinions I strongly disagree with. But now my aunt and uncle have turned to brutal entitlement just because they gave birth over a year ago. Wow. I heard this from my mom yesterday and just had to post it here. Okay. The context for this was really important, so I'm glad that you provided it. However, your entitlement in the sense regarding the presents is exclusive from the way that your aunt and uncle are acting. Like, you can be entitled in that instance and not entitled overall, whereas they sound like entitled their whole life because it sounds like they were raised that way, at least the uncle. Because it's, are you blood related to the uncle and then it's like your aunt married in? That's what it sounds like, but I don't know. So, my thoughts are, yeah, that's a little crazy. The only exception for this is when, I have an example. We moved recently, obviously. Like, my house is a mess. I don't have a podcast set yet. Welcome to my temporary one. And we have a registry on Amazon, and it's because people specifically ask for one. Now, we share an Amazon account because we have a business account that we both just share, and we get all the fun business discounts. So, our home list is one that we have between the two of us that we can look at. But we also were like, yeah, everything on this list we want, so we'll just go ahead and share it. So there are things on there that are like $600 or $700, but when we sent the list, we gave them the disclaimer of, we do not expect you to buy these higher, more expensive things. They're just on there because this is where we're saving anything and everything we want for the house. But stick to the $20 things. That is the only example that I think would justify giving a list. And he doesn't have anything on there except for the corn nuts that are reasonable. My thing is, it sounds like you guys are pretty well off. It's entitled to assume that you guys are just going to drop that much money on him. But it almost, like, gifts are expensive. What were you doing previously? Because if everybody's getting 12 to 15 presents, that's easily $500. So I feel like I need more context there. It's one thing to say you can't afford it, but it's another thing to say you simply don't want to spend it, which is fine, totally justified. I'm just really confused about that. Like, is this a situation where it's like they've been given that level of presents every year and now you're just taking that away and they don't like it? Or is this a situation where they're, you know, like they're accustomed to that? Either way, if you say, hey, we're not going to do this anymore, totally fine. But it makes me wonder if that's why they assumed you would be okay with that and why they sent that in the first place. But you saying, hey, we're not going to do that, and them doubling down is where the issue is. You see what I'm saying? Does that make any sense? Am I making any sense? I don't know. Anyway, let's move on to the next story. This one is from r/entitledcustomers, and it is titled, Buy 3, Get 3 Free Does Not Mean Half Off. Right? We knew this. I was working my job in retail in the mall during a huge sale we had on for Black Friday weekend. It was buy 3, get 3 free. That's so hard to say. Throughout the entire store. It was a pain and customers were incredibly rude, but it was busy and it made the time fly by. I rang up someone's purchase of 2 pairs of leggings at $100 each, 2 shirts, $30 each, and 2 pairs of socks, $5 each. A lot of twos. When I told the woman that her purchase came to $230 before taxes, her eyes nearly popped out of her head and started raving that I must have rang in everything wrong. I let her know that because of our sale, she got one of the shirts for free as well as the socks for free. She proceeded to call me many inappropriate names, including some very colorful racial not okays. In her mind, the sale meant that items of the same price would cancel each other out. So the items she pays for would be 1 legging, 1 shirt, 1 sock, totaling $135 instead of the $230. Now I explained to her nicely that every buy X, get 1 X, the free or discounted items are always of equal or lesser value as per the fine print written on all of the signage in the store. She proceeded to throw the largest temper tantrum I have ever seen a grown adult do in my life. Her daughters looked mortified as their mother threw the items on the floor in her fit, screaming at me that she would, quote unquote, find another store to take her money to. I picked up her items and put them into bags to be returned to the floor during her meltdown and just continued my job. calling the next person in the line before she could start another string of insults. Apparently, she couldn't find another store to take her money to because an hour or so later, her daughters came in and took advantage of the sale. This time, leaving the leggings out and grabbing some more shirts. Yeah, when I worked in retail, it was exclusively like clothing. And people are crazy. The thing about it that drives me crazy is most clothes that people are buying are not essential. Like, you do not need that cheetah print bodycon dress. I am so sorry to say. I worked at Charlotte Russe back when it was fun and cool, and no offense, no tea, no shade, but they don't have the same styles that they used to, and it's not the same quality, and it really breaks my heart because I was a Charlotte Russe girl. So when I worked there, a lot of things people were getting were like, their daughters were getting like $500 worth of clothes, and you know, the moms were just throwing it on the Amex card and things like that. I did many Black Fridays there, and the entitlement, as if like they would act like the world was gonna end if they weren't gonna get this dress for the club or these earmuffs for ice skating, like things that are just not that big, like it's not that deep. And the thing that killed me was like, okay, well, the sale's not gonna work out. If the sale's not gonna work out, you either gotta buy it or you gotta leave it, because you misunderstanding, the amount of people who misunderstand buy one get one or 50% off or literally any sale, people will do anything to try and get something for less than what it's valued at. So if they see a sale, they run with it. And there are some that are confusing, I'll give people that, but goodness, it's just crazy how people act. And like I said, most of these items are not essential that you're getting. Like, they probably, I'm assuming, don't need 2 leggings, 2 socks, 2 t-shirts. Maybe they do, because those are more wearable items. But based on my experience, it's the people who don't need them that aren't appreciative. This one is titled, "Where is my effing coffee, you teenage POS?" An Easter special. The day was 4/21/2019. That's my birthday. The setup. At my church, we make coffee that's free for everyone. I'm the lucky soul who gets to make this coffee. It sits in 3 containers, 2 regular, 1 decaf, on a table that I make sure looks nice and respectable every Sunday morning. That's nice. We have like a whole cafe that you have to pay for, but our church is also really, really big, so checks out. About 2 gallons each. We are a small church, so normally we only have to fill the coffee once for the 2 services that we have. The stage is right next to the door to the room we make coffee in. Take note of that. Normally about 35 to 40 people come in on these days, most of which can't have coffee due to a heart condition. On Easter, you get the once-a-years, people who come on major holidays like Easter, Christmas, and Thanksgiving. There are normally about 100 to 150 of them who come in for the holiday services. The once-a-years depend on our coffee to stay awake during service. I kind of hate that you call them once-a-years. That seems kind of demeaning. And it's like, I only go to my church once a year, twice a year, because I don't live in that city anymore. However, I still like watch online and stuff. So I don't know, I feel like it's kind of demeaning. Maybe I'm just really sensitive. Anyway, we make about 7 to 13 posts of coffee during major holidays. But this Easter was a little extra special as the influx of once-a-years, ECAs, entitled church attendance, hits an all-time high. Most of these people are the kind who yell at the pastor for having no coffee for their addicted selves, and will even interrupt service just to let everyone know that the coffee is gone. That's insane. I can't imagine going to a church where people act like that. Enter me, 17, not being paid, but enjoys the work. It's mid-service and I've refilled the coffee for the single service alone at least 15 times. I begin the brewing on the 16th pot. The door slams open with one of our pots in hand of an entitled church attendance person. Assumed empty. Enter ECA overlord in a fur coat, looks like she was divorced 3 times and is now the antagonist in 101 Dalmatians. Where is my effing coffee, you teenage POS? As she tells at me. That's horrible. Lady, you're in church. I don't know what denomination this is, but I'm pretty sure you're not supposed to say that. Walks up to me and gets in my face and begins to huff at me like she has a breathing problem. I work day and night to be able to come here and grace you with my presence. Do you even know who I am? You effing pale-ass waste of human resources. I stand from my little chair and I'm about a foot taller than her. I say it takes about 7 minutes for the coffee to be brewed and sent out to the auditorium. As you can see, the coffee is brewing right now, ma'am. So if you, she slams the coffee pot on the table and then says, "Get the effing coffee done or I swear to God, I will have you fired. I'm a powerful woman and I want my effing coffee now. Gosh, dang it. You degenerate POFS. I will ruin your life and everything you stand for. You satanistic, misogynistic, white sack of crap." Yeah, so many cuss words that I'm trying my best to censor, but I don't feel comfortable, and I'm not at church right now, so I can only imagine. She notices that everything is quiet. Music has stopped, stage was quiet, door opens. Enter pastor, decent man. Does good service, knows when it's time to defuse the situation. Pastor standing in doorway, piping red, and is mad. The church lady notices him and changes faces. "Oh, pastor, thank goodness you're here. This disgrace of a coffee maker is telling me that I cannot have my coffee. Fire this buffoon at once." Pastor says, "Ma'am, I'm going to have to ask you to leave the building." She gets frustrated and says, I'll be. Do you not see the horrendous job this simpleton has done to your establishment's coffee? I mean, look at it. It's barely even dispensing. Pastor ignored her babble and says, "It's time to leave now." She gets red in the face and storms out the building. Pastor gets up on stage and apologizes for her rude bluster, and the music continues. We ended service about 5 minutes late that day, but at least she won't be seen for a very long time. Lesson to be learned, please be patient. Always be patient in whatever situation, whatever you're doing. You never know what people are going through. And we have our last post, which is from r/entitled_people, and it is titled, "Entitled Thanksgiving Guest Wants to Come by the Day After and Get Some of the Leftovers." Usually my husband and I travel for Thanksgiving, but this year there was a concert the day after Thanksgiving that we wanted to attend, so we stayed home and hosted a small Thanksgiving dinner for friends and family, about 8 people total. I extended an invite to my cousin Janice, female 44, whom I rarely see or speak to, even though she lives less than 30 minutes away. Janice came. She arrived less than 5 minutes before I told her we were going to eat, and she left before we even had pie. She was on her phone during the blessing, and most of the time she was there. When she announced that she was leaving, I asked if she wanted to take home meal because I was going to have plenty of leftovers. She said, "No, not now. I'm not going home. I'm going to meet a friend at the movie theater." I thought this was a little rude, but I didn't say anything, and she left without really saying goodbye to anyone. Friday late afternoon/early evening, my husband and I are heading out to the concert. My phone rings. It's Janice. She wants to swing by the house and get some leftovers from the Thanksgiving dinner. That's crazy that she would, I don't know, I feel like in those situations, the offer only lasts until you leave, unless you're very close. Like, if I were to call my mom right now and be like, "Hey, is there extra Thanksgiving leftovers?" She'd be like, "Of course." But I talk to my mom all day, every day. But if she also said, "Oh, no, like, you took leftovers already, so I, donated the rest," or whatever, I wouldn't be mad. I wouldn't text her, though, because, like, for example, I checked my leftovers and I was like, "Oh, man, I forgot to get broccoli casserole." Did I call my mom and say, "I need to come get some broccoli casserole"? No. I said, "Dang, I should have done it when I got it." And my mom and I are very close, so that's insane. I was totally gobsmacked. I told her no, we were already heading to the concert and we were not home. She literally asked if we could come back so she could get some leftovers. She was miffed when I said, "No, we're not turning around now," just so she could get some leftovers. I told her if she wanted leftovers, she should have taken them when they were offered. I've not heard any other family members, but I am sure I will at least hear from her mother, my aunt, but most of the family, including my aunt, already know that Janice has never been known for her manners. Also, I will not be inviting Janice to any other events that I host. I don't know if I would go to that extent yet. I would definitely set your boundaries, which it sounds like you did, but I don't know if I would just, like, not invite her to any family events after that, depending on how it ended. Like, if you guys had a whole falling out fight, definitely not. But I don't know. I hate conflict. Okay, that is pretty much it. I really appreciate you guys listening, watching, whatever way you are tuning in. I upload every single Sunday. I'm so excited to get the new setup, get things rolling. There's going to be quite a few changes. So if you want to see those and stick around, or just listen to some great stories, chat, listen to my unsolicited advice, this is the place to be. I will catch you guys in the next podcast episode, and I love you so, so much. Bye, guys!